Hi, welcome on board. My name is Linda Alela. It is time for TV47 at 4. A lot has been happening for the better part of the day, and we have that and much more. So President William Ruto says Kenya has what it takes to design and achieve a long-term vision 2060. Speaking during the launch of the Beyond Vision 2030 National Conversation, the President said the long-term plan must not be government or a government project, but a national undertaking bringing together the private sector, religious organizations, civil society, and other stakeholders. Ruto said no one has a monopoly of ideas, stressing that every sector has a role to play in shaping Kenya's future. He equally said that a coherent plan anchored in legislation would help safeguard the country's development path, regardless of who occupies the presidency.
Pande huu pia kimeruhusu. Kuna dada hapa, jitambulishe kwa dakika 10 nawe toa mchango wako.
I'm Brian. I'm the founder and CEO of BAMBA.
It is important that we also agree on legislation that is going to guardrail Kenya into where we all want it to go. So that whoever is in office, whoever the president is, they cannot sabotage our collective progress, or they cannot interfere with where we want to go as a nation. It becomes the responsibility of every leader who has an opportunity to take us faster into the destination we agree as Kenyans. So that would be my suggestion on how we take this forward. I am sure there are many suggestions around this table, and we must agree, or let me request that we agree, that if my suggestion is good, I must be willing to give way to a better suggestion by somebody else. And if that somebody else's suggestion is better, they must also be willing to give up to the best suggestion so that we can all move forward together.
And Kenya is taking stock of what nearly 2 decades of Vision 2030 have delivered and what remains unfinished, from agriculture and infrastructure to education, healthcare and governance. The Kenya Vision 2030 scorecard shows significant gains, but also highlights areas where targets have fallen short. And as the country approaches the end of the Vision 2030 framework, a national conversation is getting underway on what should come next, with experts warning that Kenya needs a clear long-term destination. The Kenya Vision 2030 scorecard tracks the country's progress, that is across the economic, social and political pillars, as well as key enablers.
Been 312 flagship projects from 2008 until today. 878 flagship projects. A good example of a flagship program is the LAPSET, as you know it. It has many, many components. Any project that has many, many components, then it takes a long time, and there's a whole life cycle in terms of implementation. The flagship projects are just like of the expressway, which has a beginning and has an end, and you can measure that equally. The aggregate of these projects, ladies and gentlemen, wa Kenya wenzangu, we are at 66.1% of achievements implementation of the Kenya Vision 2030 projects from 2008 until today.
And youth stakeholders and leaders are calling for greater investment in young people as the world marks International Youth Day, with concerns over limited youth participation in decisions affecting their lives and the rising challenge of unemployment. Speaking in Mombasa during the celebrations, youth activists called on the government and other stakeholders to create sustainable opportunities that can help young people achieve economic independence. They also encouraged young people to leverage digital platforms and the creative economy to find work and create income as they push for their voices to be heard in development decisions.
The Creative Economy Bill 2026 that is coming through the Ministry of Youth Affairs. Je, wanaizaje kuensure kwamba voices za artists zinaikuwa included katika hii bill?
Make sure that the youth have or access employment, ambapo employment kwenye hili swala la leo ni kwamba employment through creativity ama through the creative industry. tukiangalia masuala ya training, the same, tukiangalia masuala ya education, ambayo yote it falls under the article 55 of the constitution.
Moja tunakuja na communique ambayo tutaipresent kwa serikali kupitia Wizara ya Creative Economy, lakini pia jukumu ni ama lengo ni imfikie rais, ambayo haya ni mapendekezo ya vijana wa Mombasa ambao wanajihusisha na swala zima la sanaa.
Mbali na serikali, tukiacha serikali kando, pia sisi kama mashirika tuko na jukumu kubwa, na ndiposa kama Swahili Pot sisi binafsi kama shirika jukumu letu kubwa ni kuangalia vijana na kuwafanyia mentorship, kuwapa guidance.
All right, UDA leaders are challenging former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua to produce evidence for his claims linking the deaths of Raila Odinga, General Francis Ogola and Joanna Ngeno to possible wrongdoing. Now, Kapseret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi, Mogotio Member of Parliament Ruben Kiborek and Baringo Senator Vincent Chemitei have urged Gachagua to hand over any information he has to security agencies for investigation. The leaders have also called on Kenyans to disregard what they describe as alarming claims that could fuel fear and division, insisting that such matters should be addressed through the relevant institutions.
Anasema maneno mingi hapo sana. Anasema sijui Raila Odinga aliuliwa. Hiyo ni kazi ya DCI, hakuja andike statement atuambie Raila aliuliwa na madani. Naona pia anasema ati Ogola aliuliwa. Hiyo ni kazi ya DCI, haina andike statement atukonfirmie, hata sisi tunazunguka tunataka tujue nini ilifanyika kama hakuna kitu anajua.
We want to tell him to respect both boundaries in his political endeavors, to respect families, to respect people, and to allow those who are arrested to rest in peace. And if he has any information, he should volunteer to DCI. If he doesn't trust DCI, he should go to FBI or CIA and give the information.
All right, Machakos Governor Wavinya Ndeti is seeking dialogue with members of the County Assembly to break the stalemate over the 2026-2027 county budget. Wavinya says the delay is disrupting essential services and has called on MCAs to put the interest of President and residents first. Now, the governor also disputed claims about departmental allocations and pending bills, saying the county owed 4.6 billion shillings as of June 30th, 2026. That is including 1.6 shillings in unpaid staff salaries. Wavinya accused some MCAs and budget committees of political interference, warning that changes to the budget could affect existing legal and contractual obligations.
I'm always there to meet them. Only what I need from them is to be truthful and to be sincere. Every time we meet, whatever we agree, they go and do. And I am telling the county assembly, you are elected by the people of Machakos. And not all their county assembly members are bad. The problem is by then the biggest problem we have is those members who are in the budget committee and also in the opposition. The UDA allied MCS are the ones that are giving us problem in the county assembly of Machakos.
Africa's youth unemployment crisis is putting millions of young people out of work, but the green economy could open new doors. Kenya is hosting a two-day African Green Jobs and Skills Forum that is bringing together governments, employers and training institutions to explore just how young people can gain the skills needed for tomorrow's jobs. Participants are calling for stronger links between government, educators and employers to turn training into real jobs. And now, renewable energy, green technology and sustainable development are being seen as key areas for creating opportunities for Africa's youth. The message from the forum is clear. Young Africans must not only seek jobs, but be equipped to build the green economy of the future.
March next year is to have a joint session of ministers of environment and ministers of finance to really sit and talk about how we can respond effectively to this challenge. It's an environmental challenge, but it's an economic challenge. When there is a disaster, the ministers of finance and planning have to sit
We have a lot of policies, but they're not being implemented. And where they're being implemented, they're not being implemented as effectively as they would be. We also, what was spoken about by FSD, there's a huge disparity between the potential and the financing that matches the potential. On the continent, you have 60% of the world's renewable energy potential, especially in terms of solar, but only 2% of the investment globally comes to Africa. So that mismatch creates a hindrance or puts a barrier in terms of the creation of those jobs.
We are in the process of implementing what we call the Decade of Education and Skills Development in Africa. This, we believe, will develop or will lead to a renewed momentum on education and skills development in the continent that is fit for purpose, education and skills development that enables young people to prosper.
Our cooperation, we are focusing on creating an enabling framework, meaning developing policies or supporting the development of policy and also putting them into operationalization. And on the other hand, also to build capacities that meet the needs of the private sector in these green sectors.
We now get sporty, where 13 students from Starehe Boys Center are back on the road, taking on the final leg of a 1,100-kilometer charity bikeathon that is from Nairobi to Mombasa. The ride aims to raise 10 million shillings to support education at the institution. The cyclists resume their journey this morning after arriving in Nairobi from Busia on Monday and taking a day to rest. Having battled hills, heat, traffic and fatigue across several counties, the riders are now heading from Mombasa, where they are expected to arrive on Sunday.
Last year and this year, last year was a bit easy for me because I trained so much than I did this year. So this year for me it has been no mean fit up to the point that I'm in right now. Yeah. And for this year you can see, last year we didn't raise as much money as we are raising right now because last year it was just about the publicity of the school and maybe just introducing and seeing whether it's possible. So we made it last year, and this year many people have come in and even the number of the riders has increased.
For Vivo Energy, we're all about people and partnerships. And that's one of our pillars in sustainability. So for us, if we're encouraging the young men behind us to ride bikes, we're doing something right.
Uganda is stepping up efforts to grow wheelchair rugby, giving players, coaches and officials a platform to gain competition and international experience. The 5-day Tugende 2026 Uganda Wheelchair Rugby National Championship that is in Kampala brought together local players for competition, training and technical development. The event culminating in an international friendly between Uganda Wheelchair Rugby Fives and Wales at MTN Arena, Lugogo. The Uganda Wheelchair Rugby Federation is now working to expand the sport, that is through clubs in Kampala, Wakiso and northern Uganda, with the aim of building a stronger pathway to national and international competition.
2018 when we began, we had no equipment at all, so it was hard to play the game. And then we also didn't have the coaches or the referees. We didn't have anything. But we registered the organization, the federation, in 2018. And after that, in 2020, we got the first wheelchairs, the first 2 wheelchairs. Then in 2024, got the next batch.
Really, I want to say that this game is just about having confidence, focus, realizing where you come from and where you want to go, because it's a big dreams that I had. So my dreams, some of my dreams now I'm achieving. Me sitting here, not because I was just selected to be part of this, but because of the good work, the spirit that I had put in the place for the training with my fellow players.
Any other para sport, wheelchair rugby also faces a number of challenges. One of them being facilities where we play from, equipment, the rugby chairs, and also the athletes themselves have challenges like poverty. It's a very big challenge because the welfare of an athlete, as long as it's not well thought about, then it will also be a very big barrier.
All right, Champions League winners Paris Saint-Germain will face Europa League champions Aston Villa in the
Ndio hiyo. Nipatie.
Unajua kama una mtu kitu hata tu salamu ya kawaida inakaa kama reminder.
Habari yako? Sintalipa kesho.
Kesho gani when?
Si kesho ya kesho ya tomorrow.
Hiyo tena. Mzee ni budi nikamchoka. Ni budi ni madeni.
Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
Right, thank you so much for staying tuned. We have got to close TV47 at 4 at this point. More coming your way at 7 and 9 p.m. My name is Linda Alela. Good evening.